you are here with your questions and that you are here with your open mind. So a quick introduction to Micah. I know some of us, or most of us, will probably be aware of Micah's vision, mission, and all of that. But just to reintroduce you to Micah, Micah is an Islamic organization that is focused on helping. Can you all hear me, please? And see me as well?
Yes, we can hear you. We can see you.
Okay. All right. So, as I said, Micah is an Islamic organization that is focused on helping Muslims return to the state of excellence through faith. So, our mission is to spread the awareness of Islam, to revive Islamic values, and to support Muslims through living purposeful, God-conscious lives. We create safe, engaging spaces for learning, connection, and growth, especially for Muslims who may have, lost touch with their faith or never had the chance to really learn deeply and in a non-judgmental space. So for youth forums and public talks, we organize fun hangouts and community support. Micah brings people together to grow in knowledge, character, and spirituality. With a strong focus on education, community, Islamic conduct, wellness, and collaboration, Micah is a place where Muslims find comfort, guidance, and meaningful relationships, all in the cause of Allah. So, fi sabilillah, may Allah continue to bless this organization, and we are thankful that you are here today. So, next up is going to be a recap of our last webinar, our last Micah Flow. It was done by Hajia Aziza Muhammad Adangba, and the topic was on personal discipline, the art of personal discipline. For me, the key takeaway from that program was that we should always ensure that we represent Islam wherever we are. Yes, she discussed, discipline and all of that, and we know the benefits of discipline. I mean, last 2 weeks was not the first time we've learned about discipline, but then she reinforced the benefits and, why we should be disciplined. One thing that stood out to me was her introduction. She talked about how everybody knows her as a very disciplined person, like down to your pronunciation, your spelling, every single thing. She doesn't play. She really is the epitome of, Muslims returning to a state of excellence. So that was it for me. If anybody is willing to share, one or two things that they learned or they took away from that wonderful webinar, please feel free to drop it down in the comment section. Yes. So before we get into today's topic proper, I'll just be asking anybody that's willing. We all know today's topic. I mean, we've seen the flyer. I don't want to tell us yet. I'm going to give us a proper introduction into that. So what are you looking forward to learning? What question do you think that this particular webinar is going to answer for you? It's a topic that is everybody can relate to, everybody needs it. It's a very important topic. So what do you think you will be learning today, or what aspect of your life do you think will change dramatically from whatever you learned today? Please feel free to drop in the comment section. Okay, someone said, I hope to learn how to become a better partner to my spouse. MashaAllah. That's a good one. I personally I'm just looking forward to being a better communicator, because I feel like when it comes to things like speaking, emotional intelligence, all of these things, we think that we have got it, we think that we know how, we're acing it. But then when you get feedbacks, you're like, oh, wow. So, the person probably didn't even understand what I was saying, or I probably suck at this thing. So I just want to be a better communicator, because communication is very key in all aspects of our lives, from work to friendships to relationships, every single thing. So that's for me. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's get straight into it. today's topic. Today, we're unpacking a topic that is very, very crucial. It is one that quietly affects every relationship that we have, from our friendship to family ties, even our connection with ourselves. It's called Do You Speak My Heart? Very genuine question. A conversation on emotional intelligence, empathy, and authentic connection. In a world of filtered feelings, surface level chats, that isn't just about, being soft or sentimental. It's about being real, learning to understand our own emotions, and then learning how to respond properly with genuine empathy. If anybody here was in the Mina retreat, will remember that this was a major topic, the emotional deposit and all of that. So I feel like our speaker is going to touch a lot on that today. So let's keep our ears open. Okay. So whether it's expressing what we truly feel, listening to our hearts, or breaking through the walls we've built, emotional awareness is the bridge between isolation and intimacy. So this isn't just fluff. This isn't self-help fluff. This isn't just another one of those things that you see on TikTok or Instagram. This is stuff that transforms relationships. Truly, really. I think there's a survey that says 80% of divorce, I'm not sure on the statistics, please don't quote me on it, but 80% of divorces are caused by bad communication, miscommunication, basically revolves around communication. So this topic is going to be something that will transform our lives really, because it transforms relationships, it fosters community, sorry, and then ultimately it will help us to live a more meaningful, connected, and purposeful lives. Yeah, so let's just learn a little about our speaker, because she's here with us right now. So our speaker is Mrs. Umuhani Omotunde Olambiwonu. I'm sorry if I did not pronounce that Yoruba properly, ma. Mrs. Umuhani Omotunde Olambiwonu has over 25 years of transformative experience in HR, human resources, yes, training and administration. She has dedicated her career to shaping organizational excellence and nurturing human potential. Mrs. Olambiwonu's academic prowess includes a BSc in Business Administration, a Master's in General Management, UNILAG, and a Diploma in Psychology. Okay, a diploma in psychology. So you can say that she's the best person to speak to us today. So she is a trifecta of knowledge that underpins her strategic approach to talent development. Beyond the boardroom, she's a passionate advocate for relationship building, channeling her expertise into couple counseling and coaching, firmly believing that thriving families are the foundation of a thriving nation. Very, very true. A relentless seeker of knowledge, she actively participates in international conferences, training programs, ensuring her practices align with global best standards. And her specialties also include learning and development, talent management, strategic planning, and employee well-being, all woven into her mission to create workplaces where individuals flourish. Currently, she serves as the General Manager of Learning and Development at the Lagos State Department of Property Corporation. Mashallah. Mrs. Olambiwonu spearheads initiatives that elevate skills, fosters growth, and then champion a culture of empowerment. Sorry. Please, let's give a round of applause to our speaker. That's quite an impressive bio. Barakallahu fikum. So we've been keeping our speaker waiting for quite some time, and now that her bio has been read, we all have an idea on who she is. We'd like you to please, ma, would like to welcome you to officially, start impacting your knowledge on us, and we're excited to hear you, ma. You can have the mic, ma.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone.
Wa alaikum assalam wa
It's a
rahmatullahi wa
great honor to be
barakatuh.
here. I'm blessed to be here, and it's a great honor. Bismillah, salatu wa salam ala rasulillah, wa ala ali wa sahbihi wa sallim, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillah ar-rahmanir rahim. I'm happy to be here, but I would have been happier if we had a classroom full of people, because it would be very impactful, when we have more
Yes.
people and they're able to also share their ideas, along the way. But moving on, I just want us to know that marriage is one of the bedrock, of Islamic standing. One of the things that Rasulullah SAW talked about when it comes to a nation is that a nation starts from the solemnization of two people, because from them, other nations will also grow. So marriage is a beautiful journey. Well, it's meant to be a beautiful journey. It requires a lot of understanding, it requires patience, it requires effective communication. Oftentimes, men and women have different emotional languages, which leads to misunderstanding. It's just like me coming from Germany and I speak German only, and I met somebody from South Africa who speaks only Swahili. And then we say, okay, fine, we're going to marry, irrespective of the fact that we do not understand each other's language, right? How would this work? There has to be a meeting point. And this is what happens in most marriages, because they're speaking different languages and they do not have a common language, just like in most climb where you have multiple languages, they would now dissolve everything into one common language. In Nigeria, say for instance, we have almost 1,000 languages, and we've dissolved everything down to just two, and that is Pidgin and formal English. So this is the way that marriage actually is. So our emotions, our needs, our expectations, our thoughts, and the way we process the things determine, the way we communicate. Do you understand? What you're thinking will determine how you're going to communicate. Your relationship, with other people will also determine how you're going to communicate. So in a relationship, such as marriage, even friendship, right? Communication is actually very intricate. So all these parameters, will shape who you are, irrespective of your gender. That is, your environment, who brought you up, what values do you have in your not your nuclear anymore, your extended family, what you people value, what you people believe in, those intricate things that make you people, say for instance, make me, my maiden name is Mogaji. So what are those things in my nuclear family before I moved into this one? Because now they are in my extended family. What are those values that are there that I'm carrying along? Because when we move into marriages, we're actually carrying bags of different things without knowing it. I mean, these bags are invisible bags, they're bags that we carry in our thoughts, in our hearts. Do you understand? So when you move into a marriage, you come up with these different bags, right? And all these parameters, like I said, they determine a lot of things, because both of you are coming from different backgrounds, but also not just background, different social conditioning. You were nurtured differently. The environment you lived in was different. Your social circles probably also different. Our upbringing completely different. Our cultural norms completely different. Our societal expectations, even family expectations, are also completely different. Because our families and the place we come from have a deep roots in who we are, right? The way we throw our fingers, the way we get angry, the way we are calm, all these things are byproducts of where we're coming from. And remember that when you're going to any marriages, honestly, you're coming not just with your clothes and yourself, but you're coming with these invisible things that nobody sees. You do not even know that you're bringing in anything. Neither does your husband know that he's bringing in anything. But you bring everything in anyway, and they become those issues that you start grappling with. This leads us into, first of all, trying to understand, who we really are. Because when people enter into marriages, the truth is that they really don't know who they are. They just go into those marriages with the hope that everything is going to work. And forgetting that you're a product of, just like the apple is a product of an apple tree, and orange is the product of an orange tree. So the apple and the orange are coming together, thinking that, okay, fine. The apple is thinking, oh God, we're going to have just one wonderful apple time. And then the oranges also think, oh, we're going to have just wonderful oranges and wonderful orange children and wonderful orange times, right? Both of you are coming with these two ideas that do not even look alike. And then when you pour out, you realize that you're so much different and you're two different people. And this happens a lot. Now, marriage is a communication of two people in Islam. It is a man and a woman and nothing more. And they're meant to be complementary. You know, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed marriage for tranquility, that is sakina, for love, mawadda, and mercy, rahma. Now, these things are things that we overlook. We read, but we do not put it in our heart. It does not resonate because we do not practice it. Now, marriage is built on difference. Very, very important. Marriage is built on difference. And, you know, I could just go straight and talk about emotional intelligence and how you can do this. But, you know, we keep forgetting that before we reach that stage of understanding our emotions, we have to know where we're coming from. We have to understand our backgrounds and so on and so on. For each person in a marriage, right, they have different social backgrounds which affect the marriage dynamics. You have the cultural expectations, right? I'm coming from my home. There are ways we do things in my house, say for instance, and it is deep. It is deep as the way I cook, because everything comes from where I'm coming from. Except, of course, you live with somebody else, notwithstanding who you lived with, because we want to look at you as, you know, coming from a certain environment, whether it's your parents that, you know, took you up or whether someone else actually did the job. But what we're saying now is that our backgrounds are one of the things that determine the kind of communication we have, heart-to-heart communication we have within the marriage. Another thing that determines is economic and educational backgrounds, right? Sometimes as we go on in life, some things will drop off, right? Through what? Through education, through awareness. Do you understand? But depending on the level of education and awareness, that is what is going to determine the level of the amount of baggage you're dropping off. When I say baggage, it's not that all these things are bad, but when I talk of baggage, I'm talking about the ones that are not needed, right? You know, your parents actually have their own love language, but without you knowing it, you have actually picked it, right? I'll give you a very simple example, which I always give, of a married couple. They were just wonderful, did a wonderful nikah, and they were together for a long time. Not a long time before they started fighting. I think less than a year. About 2 years, the fighting started erupting really big. And the man was really very tired. That, see, I came into this marriage for peace, and that is Sakina. And all I get is just fights. You know, so at the point in time, it was a breaking point for him, and he had to involve family members and imams to come and intercede. And when they asked him, he told them, every time I come back, you know, from work, this is what my wife does. Picks on me, and then everything erupts into a fight. And they asked the wife, Madam, please, what is happening? She explained and she apologized, and she explained that where she's coming from, her parents fight a lot. And in her mind, her thought is that fighting actually, because I mean, they've been fighting for so many years and they've never separated. So our thought is that fighting actually solidifies marriage. That when they have misunderstanding, the point of reconciliation actually is what solidifies marriage. This is our thinking. This is where she's coming from. The other guy is coming from a place of peace, where they don't have this kind of altercation within their family. But this is what we're talking about, that we come from different places, and this would eventually, you know, matter when we enter into a marriage. It would determine the kind of speech, you know, you speak, the type of things in your heart that you want to divulge, and the way you also understand the other person. Your parenting background also shapes your marriage. You know, what kind of attachment do you have? Do you have avoidant attachment? All these things are things that affect you as an individual within a marriage. You know, so when we're digging deep, we have to know that, oh, this is the reason why I'm doing this. So that some of these baggages, can be left behind, as we understand ourselves. And believe me, it is very, very important for you to understand yourself as, well, first of all, for you to understand yourself as a woman, that is going into a marriage to support, to be loved, and to give everything you have to a man. And also for a man to understand that, I think I'm going in here for a long haul. But when you go into marriages without actually understanding some of these things, it causes a lot of, lack of understanding. We have some people that come from homes that they're securely attached, and some from homes that they're avoidant because they have very strict parents. And you see, it is not that it's bad to be strict, but if you take it to another level, of being strict and being affectionate, these are things that can bind, depending on the kind of people you have. We also have parents that, they're technically bullies without knowing that they're bullies. They don't know because most parents that I know wants the best for their children, and the only way they know how, is to treat them in a certain way. Then you want to look at how do conflicts get resolved in the place you're coming from. Because see, this is what you're also bringing back into this marriage. There's some other things that you also have to look at. Are you struggling with vulnerability? Because in some in some homes, you're not given the confidence, to be who you are. So you're always hiding who you really are, and you're giving them who they want you to be. Right? Now, two things: who you really are, right? If you bring those out, you might meet their displeasure, right? So you bring out you think they want you to be. Now, if you have brought out who you really are, right, it is very, well, I'm not going to say very easy. It is going to be easier for them to shape you and to let you understand that this is who you are. There's some things you need to change and so on and so on, instead of wearing another mask, because sometimes some people see their parents, they wear a new mask, where when they're at work, they have a mask, so people have different ways of behaving in different people, in different environments. And all of this stems from where they're coming from. So if you're that kind of a person that you're very good at masking things, so it is not impossible that you can be in a marriage for 30 years and still mask your real emotions. Now, when you're going into marriage as well, you're coming in, like I said earlier, please always remember that I said you're coming in with the baggage. Some of the baggage, right, you're coming in with your thought of what a model marriage should be, what my husband should do, and what I'm expecting. He should understand me. What part of me, right, should he understand fully? What part of me am I keeping? So you already have your model. And the first model is people you're living with. Remember, I tried hard not to say only parents because it's not all of us that live with our parents all through. Some of us live with caregivers, some of us live with family, extended family members, because then they become your parents at that point in time. So all these things have a very heavy impact, in your life, in your expectations, and your model, of expectations, and what you're hoping, to give back, and what you're hoping to receive as well. So you might come from a home that is highly toxic, people yelling, and in some houses they don't talk. They yell. This is a new thing. If they talk, it is maybe the person is sick. They yell. In some homes, they abuse. When I say abuse, they use abusive words. For any little thing they use. In fact, when they play, they use abusive words. You know. Um, it surprised me sometimes when you go to Lagos Island and they're playing and there's still shiniani. This is not a fight. This is, a friend saying to a friend. And then the same thing goes to some parents. There was a little, I mean, this is not a joke. There's a little boy that was interviewed, I think, when we're kids, and they asked, what's your father's name? He said Olushi. Uh-uh. What's your mother's name? Olori Buruku. This is it. Lọ pe Olori Buruku yẹn wá fún mi. So this is what some people grew up with. So when you see some men being abusive, right, you have to go backward to the roots. And the reason why I'm going back to this is for you to also have an introspection into yourself. Where am I coming from? What kind of um environment did I come from? Is my expectations stemmed out of my environment? Is it against my environment? Because sometimes you come up from an environment that you really loathe, you don't like it at all, but you already have a model of what you want, which might be realistic or not realistic. But remember, what you want and what you have learned, they do not look alike. So for what you want, you can't even live it, neither can you give it. Say, for instance, you come off from a very hostile background. And then, okay, so you want a husband that'll be so loving. But remember, you don't even know how to show love. You don't know because you're going to be very hostile. Anytime he does it, you're hostile. So you first of all need to understand who you are, where you're coming from, and how you can actually pour out some of this baggage. Now, discipline and emotional expression also is something that plays a lot of role in the way we come across in any marriage. This may lead to perfectionism or fear of failure. Some men, they do not want to fail. And you see that they're so driven, they drive themselves like a mad horse. Just because from the place they're coming from, it's a place where failure is not allowed. It could be even in school that you have a very competitive class, or a school where they're so very competitive, and your parents are saying that you must not be this. Do you understand? We have had instances of parents saying that why can't you be first? And if from what I've learned from the Western world, a lot of them do not push their children. And when we go there, we make sure that our children are always top of the class. They always wonder why. We're hardwired to be that way. We're hardwired as Nigerians, especially Nigerians that move outside with the whole of their family. They're always trying as much as possible to make their children excel, through all the means possible. So these are some of the things that also affect you. And then when you go into a marriage, especially as a woman, even a man, and you're perfectionist, your wife will never be enough. See the reason why I'm saying that? Sometimes some of the things that we're expecting when it comes to emotional intelligence is actually deep rooted in who we really are and the baggages we're coming with. Many struggles, with boundaries or responsibilities. Some people do not believe that they should tell their wife anything about themselves because this is what they are this is the place they're coming from. And the wife expects so much. I want my husband to be this, and he tells you absolutely nothing. Down to the place he's going, just picks his key and leaves. So for us to get to that stage of speaking each other's languages, right, we first of all have to do what? Take a step back and see where we're coming from and be truthful with ourselves. Because all of these things will manifest eventually in an estranged marriage, where people do not feel emotional connection with each other, where the baggages you're meant to have left at the doorstep when you're coming into the marriage was still taken with you. And then you're not just taking them with you, but they also grow. Yours grow and your spouses also grow. So you keep thinking, what is going on? He just doesn't love me, or she's just so this, or she's just so that. But most of these things are deep rooted in the way we're hardwired. And the beautiful thing is that being hardwired doesn't mean that, this wiring cannot be disconnected. Now, we also have, our social backgrounds, which is also very important. Some people were brought up in homes where going to Asalatu is a main thing. That is socializing Islamically. Do you understand? Now, if you're one of those that socialize Islamically with other Muslims, with other Muslim mothers, other Muslim fathers, and other Muslim children, when you get in your own home, it becomes an aberration. When your spouse says, "What are we going to do there?" It becomes something is unheard of. So you see, these are some of the things that cause poor 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 sorry poor connection, poor emotional connection. If you're
Any
raised,
problem, ma?
hello,
Hello, ma. I said any problem, ma?
can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, ma. I
Yeah.
can hear you clearly.
Okay, sorry, a call came in. You
Okay, ma.
you would permit me to call because the person will keep calling me back. Just permit
All
me
right.
a minute.
Okay. Okay, all right. So sorry about that, everyone. We'll just have to spare a minute or two till our speaker gets back. I hope we're really enjoying this session and we're taking notes because we will be having it's basically a chit chat session. I hope we've noticed that there's no slides. So after her lecture, quote unquote, feel free to ask whatever questions that you might have and even contribute or give your comments. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am so sorry for that. That had to be picked, or else,
Walaikum,
yes,
walaikum salam, ma. You're welcome
or,
back, ma.
or else I'll keep having this. So I also wanted you to know, I have a slide, but we had a conversation earlier on, but then I'll send the slide afterwards, inshallah. So one of the
Okay.
things you have to know is that there's no marriage. There's no marriage that you enter into as a blank slate. There's nothing like that. When I say a blank slate, it meaning that your blank is blank. No, you're coming with a lot of things. And this is the first thing a lot of people do not understand. Even though I keep on telling people that marriage is like a box and it's empty. Initially, when you get into the marriage, you enter the contract of marriage. It's you're entering into an empty box. Remember, I didn't say empty people, right? I did not say um um blank slated people, but I said an empty box. So what people do when they enter into a marriage is enter into a marriage and they start putting into that empty box all their what? Their baggages. When they put in the box their baggages, it is filled up. It's filled up with resentment. It's filled up with, avoidance. It's filled up with a lot of things. And it is what you put in there that you get. It is what you put in the marriage that you get. We don't see it. We try to explain ourselves out of a lot of things, but it is what you put inside that you get. So we always advise that when we're doing marriage counseling, we try to go deep into what is underneath so that the two parties can know what they're dealing with. Sadly, a lot of people come for marriage counseling few days, 1 month to marriage when introduction has even been done. So you see, the deed has been done. You're going into this open-eyed and you're going to, get yourself really hurt. It is easy to blame one party or blame the other party. But remember, the fault is usually, within the two people. You really have to understand yourselves. Now, when you're going into any marriage, you have to, first of all, break that cycle that you're bringing in. That remember, I am not dealing with the good things. Please hold on to all the good things we're bringing in. When people come into marriages, some people bring a lot of positivity. They're full of life. But if the other person is the one that sucks out life from you, eventually it's going to suck everything out. And that is why you have to understand each other. A man might like you because you're so full of life, but have you bothered to actually check the kind of person you're getting married into, the kind of home the person is coming from? All these things are very, very important because this language, understanding the language of your heart, where you do not even understand what you really want, right? Or you think you understand, right? But then you have a lot of baggage you have to take with you. Do you understand? You understand that, oh, I'm very hungry and I need to eat, right? But then you're diabetic and you said, oh, that's not important. And you said, give me everything that I just need to eat and I'll eat. And then what happens? Your sugar rises. You forgot one thing that was very crucial. You have an underlying disease. The same thing with each person. This time, these are not diseases. These are who we are and the baggages we are taking. So we have to learn to break the cycle. First of all, you have to identify your background. Very important. We don't, I realize that a lot of people do not talk to themselves. They don't have that self-talk. And I always tell people that there's a difference between self-talk and self-thought. Thoughts are given. The only time you stop thinking is when you sleep. And then when you sleep, you're even into another realm of dreaming. So your thoughts are always very busy. Random thoughts. And that's the thing about thoughts. They're also disjointed, right? But when you're speaking to yourself, it is not disjointed. It is purposeful and it's specific and it's focused. And these are the things I always advise people to do. When you're having self-talk, don't worry, you're not mad. In fact, you're far from mad. You're well. For you to have self-talk, remember in Islam, Rasulullah said that if you're reading the Quran, read it out. And that is what actually qualifies as reading the Quran. Some people, when they pick the Quran, they read the Quran without even moving their lips. And that is not Quran, that is thoughts. The same thing when we want to self-talk. Now you self-talk in a way that you hear you hear, because the thing is, when you hear yourself, you act immediately. When you don't hear yourself, it's a background noise in your thoughts and it's inconsequential. Most of the time it is. And that is why sometimes when you write things down, they endure more than having things in your head. Things in your head can fly away, things you write down will not. The same thing with speaking. So it is very important for you to have that self-talk with yourself. Who am I really? What are the things? Be very stark truthful with yourself, brazenly truthful, that this is who I am. I am not nice when it comes to this. Be truthful about the things, especially the things you're not nice about. And then come to the category of the things that you're doing very well with. Because sometimes you think you're doing very well with, the other person doesn't even see it. So for me, it is very crucial that you look inward first before you can, listen to anybody's heart or for anybody to listen to your heart. Have you tried to understand who you really are? Self-discovery is very important when it comes to marriage, when it comes to people understanding you and you trying to understand them, because that's the bane of emotional intelligence. If you do not understand yourself, you cannot understand others. Because it will be easy for anybody to hurt you if you do not understand yourself. You should know what your thresholds are. You should know what your weaknesses are, right? And trying to build, a barrier, understand that weakness so that nobody will use your weakness against you. If you're one that gets angry very easily and you have to find a way around it. Self-talking helps as well. So there's so many things, I've discussed when it comes to parents parenting. Because without you knowing, you might take your parents' parenting and their love languages and mimic it to be yours. How do your parents handle conflict? Is this the way I'm going to handle conflict as well? Are your parents those that when they have conflict, they fight to finish and everybody knows that they're fighting? Or do you have parents that perhaps, Do you have parents that sorry? Are you still hearing me? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
ma'am. We can hear you clearly. Yes, ma'am.
Right. You know, or perhaps are you are you you know, in a relationship or parental relationship that when they have conflicts, they give each other, they do stonewalling, they don't talk to each other. I've seen a couple that they have not spoken to each other in 10 years and they live in the same house. This is mind-boggling. They don't sleep on the same bed, but they live in the same house. You know, these are baggages that people bring into marriages, and it shows that both of them have the threshold to be unkind to each other. And that threshold will go on until the children leaves. So what am I saying? Please, the first thing you want to do is try and understand yourself, right? How do they show love? Are you bringing that way? Because if it's the same way you're bringing and it's a good way, it's going to work. If it's the same way and it's not good, it's not going to work. If you flip something that won't work this way and that way, it's still the same thing, it will not work. So recognize something called learned behaviors. Learned behaviors that will harm your marriage. Honestly, I'm telling you, these things are real, and we don't talk much about it only because we do not even recognize they are there. They're so invisible that people do not even believe. Just like when you ask people, where's Shaitan? They'll tell you, well, it's everywhere. I mean, it tempts us, but it flows through your veins. But we do not recognize because it's so much a part of our thinking. When we think it's there to skew it this way or to skew it that way. And so we have taken it as what? A normal thing. So sometimes we don't even bother to fight it again. So the same thing with the things that, you know, you bring in from your environment, you know, from your initial nuclear, or should I call it extended now, extended family, and so on and so on. Because this could cause a lot of harm and it will deter, right, the listening ears of either of the spouses. Neither will they even be able to talk from the heart. Another thing you should do is create a tradition together. People go into marriages. I don't know how many people, you know, work in organized companies where you have vision, you have mission, you have all these things. People go into marriages without any vision. They don't have mission. They just marry. One come affair and one isha. No vision, no mission. Right? Well, but sometimes they have bucket list, but nothing like, what is your mission? If you want to carve out a mission from any part of the Quran, even a part of the du'as of Rasulullah or the parts of dua of the Quran, the prophets, you can pick something and focus on it and then start marshalling it. I can't teach you what will work for you, but I can tell you that you have to create something new, because when you're coming into marriage, like I said, now that marriage is a cocoon and is new and there's nothing inside, right? And it's beautiful. Now, if you bring all your dirt in, it is the dirt that you're going to deal with. So for you not to, you know, run foul of this, it means that you have to create new traditions. First of all, recognize what you're bringing. Because without recognizing what you're bringing, you might repeat that as a new tradition. Now, seek wisdom when necessary. You know, a lot of people, they want their spouse to understand their language or even speak, you know, your heart's language. But you can't, because a lot of things, you know, is shading the glass. It's so murky. The glass is murky and it needs to be cleaned. And the moment you're able to clean, you see that the heart that you're trying to listen to has been speaking all along. But a lot of things that you brought into marriage are the things that are not letting you listen or even hear. You have to also learn gratitude. First, gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you have to learn the art of patience. Allah cannot even stress this enough in the Quran. That you pray and be patient. You pray and be patient. You pray and be patient. And Allah is what? With the Sabirun. So it's very important again that we understand that gratitude stems from what? Recognition of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done, recognition of what my spouse is doing. If you say thank you for every dollar, no matter how little, that dollar is going to turn into tens of dollars, hundreds of dollars, and so on and so on. And this is the way of Allah. And I said, and I cannot stress this enough, is know thyself. You really have to understand who you really are. Who are you in the story of your marriage? Who are you? What story do you want to project, first of all, to the person you married, to the person you want to profess your love to, and the person you want to love through all seasons? So you really have to understand, yourself. Before you can understand any other person, even in emotional intelligence, you really have to know who you really are. So how do you now write your own love story? Because, what we want to know is, how will this man understand me? We have said one thing, understand yourself first, and make yourself understood by others. If you understand yourself, it's the beginning of you learning how to make yourself understood by those people that are very significant to you. And remember that marriage is a contract, and there's no doors. There's no doors. There's nothing holding you from leaving.
Okay. I can hear you.
Yes, there's nothing holding you from leaving except the rahmah of Allah that is tying you together. So it's very important that if you want to write your own love story, which I always recommend, move from frustration to what? To empathy. If you're frustrated, it's just like when somebody is doing something that hurts you. Say, for instance, your spouse. We have a knack. We say we love each other, but we have a knack of hurting each other. We just know how to do it. And then what hurts even more is that most spouses even enjoy. Can you hear me? Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes.
It was frozen for a while, but I can
Okay.
hear you now.
Okay. So even some spouses, so I was talking about, how to write your own love story.
Okay.
How you're going to move from frustration to empathy. Now, a lot of people are frustrated because they keep getting hurt in their marriage, right? And then when your spouse hurts you, countless amount of times, you do not feel any empathy towards the person. You feel frustrated and you want to get even. It's just killing me. So what am I going to do? So you try to get even, right? Now, when you try to get even, you bring the worst in you. And this is what Yorubas will say, Ika, Umasoedi Ika. A person that is wicked and is hurting you will give you that, well, Shaitan is going to help you. This person is hurting you now. You cannot just keep on feeling sorry for him. Hurt him back. And the way you're going to hurt him, if you're not careful, might be more than what you're going to do, what he did. So it's very, very important for you to move away from frustration to empathy. Anybody that hurts you, the first thing, anybody, doesn't have to be your spouse alone. Anybody, feel sorry for them. You see, when people hurt you, right, either knowingly or unknowingly, if it's unknowingly, right, it behoves you to mention it. Now it becomes a norm that keeps on going on. Then you should feel sorry for the person. You might be asking why. It's me they're hurting. They should feel empathy for me. But you should be thankful that you're not the one doing it. So if you start from that space that Alhamdulillah, I'm not the one doing this. Say some people, say for instance, some men will say, oh, there's no place that Allah says I should give you any amount of money, is what I have, what I can afford. And you know that you can afford more than that. So long as it keeps doing the same thing, there will come a time you just say, okay, fine. Allah, please provide me, whatever it is that I need. And Allah is ever gracious. See, that prayer you made could have been a prayer that was meant for your husband. Oh, Allah, continue to provide for him. Oh, Allah, do this for him. Oh, Allah, do that for him. Right? But you needed that prayer for yourself so that you not what? You not go into frustration. So have empathy for whoever is hurting you. Acknowledge past mistakes. It's always nice when you're able to acknowledge past mistakes, and it's always better for the other person not to keep on going back to mistakes, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says when He forgives us, Rasulullah told us that if Allah forgives you, He forgives you completely. He does not ask you. He forgives you completely. So it's something we have to learn, that when we hurt each other and we have come to that point of realization and we have said we're going to forgive each other, we should not bring it up again, because it does what? It closes your ear and your heart towards the person's feelings, because it means that that thing lives in your heart, and every time anything comes up, you lash it out. So that means forgiveness has actually not taken place. We did say forget, because, if you forgive, the beautiful thing about forgetting it is knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also forgiven me of something that is so bad as well. So that should ease your mind, that the moment I'm able to forgive this person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has equally forgiven me. Now, always communicate very, very well. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he communicates, he doesn't say it once. Some of us, we either shout, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never shouts. And this is the example we want to follow. We follow Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in everything that we do, so that our lives will be easy. It is very hard when a woman is more knowledgeable, Islamically and otherwise, than the husband. If the husband is a complete chauvinist that does not believe a woman should be better than him, then you're going to have a lot of problems, no matter how much you do. So for that kind of person, you wonder, how would I survive in trying to be myself? Somebody that loves knowledge and loves to share knowledge, how would I survive in the marriage where this is not allowed? And that goes back again to the baggages you're bringing in, assessing the baggages and accepting, yourselves for the good things you do, and, pointing it out and saying, God, I love the fact that you love knowledge. I love the fact that, the knowledge you're having, you're going in quest of, you're also going to, put on my children, and that makes me very happy. So if a man is able to say that and not look at it from the wrong side, then you're in a wonderful marriage. Express love. Most Muslim marriages, we do not say these things anymore. We don't see expressing love as something that is huge, because like Yorubas will also say, "Wakati don't know." You're in my house, you're my wife, I'm the leader of this pack, is what I say you're gonna do. And I'll go back again to pre-marriage counseling. In pre-marriage counseling, some of the things we're going to come up with, are agreements between the two of you. And some people call it prenup in the Western world, but Islam has always had prenup. What are the things that, you would rather have him do and not do? And then you come to an agreement. Express feelings towards each other. Express true love, because the more love you're able to express, right, it's like water that quenches fire, right? Anything that you have done, you probably tell you, but in a way that is nice. And I really didn't like the way, you shouted on me yesterday. Please, let's not be shouting on each other. Otherwise, if you had not expressed that love, that will have come across as something very, very loud that you might not like. When Allah loves two people, it creates between them a language of the unseen. And I was trying to, discern in my mind, what is the language of the unseen? And this language is a language of understanding. That when the other person speaks, I understand. When the other person is not happy, even without talking, non-verbal cues, I understand. When the other person is in need, in fact, when the other person wants to call me, I see that I pick my call and I'm about dialing her. And she'll tell me, oh, I was just about calling you. These are two hearts that are conjoined in thinking about each other, in expressing love, in being vulnerable. Another thing that, happens in a lot of marriages is not allowing each other to be vulnerable. Most men want to be vulnerable in front of their wives, but they're scared. Will my wife laugh at me? Will she refer to it again? Will she continue calling me names because of it? Some women, the same thing. their vulnerability. Some of our vulnerabilities are even something we cannot change. Something as hardcore as our body. Do you understand? And some men are vulnerable about some parts of their body. Some women are equally very vulnerable about some parts of their body. And, we are not even allowed. You see some women, they will be fully clothed to bed. That even in time of intimacy, their husband cannot even remove the clothes. He can only go to the junction of enjoyment. That is all. Oh. Because of what? They're so scared to be vulnerable. They're so scared. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello. Please, if you're coming in, please mute your mic.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Please mute your mic. Thank you so much.
So I was talking about vulnerability and the importance of, being vulnerable. For you to listen to anybody's heart, right? You have to accept certain things that cannot be changed. I'm not saying some of it, I mean, if you're going to categorize things that needs to be changed, we have to start from the things that cannot be changed. Do you understand? For instance, I can't change my gender, right? And then some other things that I cannot change in me because it's the way the last one has designed, my code. This is my code, right? But there's so many other things that can be changed. That could come under discussion. Now, under those things that can be changed, some things are already hardwired. Like some of the things I said were carrying as baggage. Sure, you understand? You see some mad people, when they hold something like this, they will not leave it. That thing is useless to them, but they will not leave it. I'm not saying the person is mad though, but this is some of the things that happen in our lives. And there's some things that are very easy to let go of. And these are low-hanging fruits. We start with things that are very easy to let go of before we now come to those things that have been hardwired, into our body, to our souls, that we find hard, not to do. I mean, these are things I can't think about. Some men will say, how would I sweep when my wife is around? Because it is hard core in his subconscious that this is not the way I was taught. So now I'll go straight to the 7 pillars to speak each other's heart. Now, remember that the reason why I went through all of this is for you not to be deluded that me coming up and telling you that, my love language is this or my love language is that will solve problems. These usually do not. Because yes, you have your love languages, but there's some deep-seated things that need to, first of all, be looked into and resolved before we now start saying, okay, fine, I quite understand you now. And I know that this and these are the things, because it's that understanding that will make you understand what the love language is all about. Some people it's of service. You wonder why. So that why is the reason why you have to go to the seed before you come to the leaves. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is that you have to master one thing, the art of listening. A lot of us do not know how to listen. Some of us listen to reply. Some of us don't even listen at all. We just interject. And some of us do not even digest what the other person is saying. Some of us listen without empathy, without understanding. If the other person is talking, give yourself a 3-minute rule. 3 minutes. If the other person is talking, you have to be farabale. Even if he's accusing you of the things that you did not do, farabale. Let him finish. While you're listening, don't be thinking of how you're going to reply. Be thinking, wow, this thing really hurts this person. But why? Try and decode the reason why this thing is really hurtful towards to this person. If you're able to decode it, the mode of answering will be different than that of being defensive. Do you understand? The mode of answering will be, say for instance, your husband wants his food, at a particular time, and you're thinking, I mean, I've been doing it, but God, I can't do this one again. And he says, okay, fine, please, can you get my food? And he just went on and on. I've been doing this, I just cannot do this today. I can't. Is it only you? Have you done this for me before? Have you done this? Blah, 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 blah. And the husband is just looking, letting her vent and vex for 3 minutes. After the 3 minutes, and she continues, he's calm. If he's calm, what that does to her, right? Two things. Is that she continues venting, right? Or she gets tired of venting. If she continues, then you stand up and you move away. Because if the 3 minutes is over, then it's time for you to stand up and move away. If all the noise comes down, it is now time for you to give a response, right? Let us all learn to do one thing. If your husband or your wife is talking to you, please do not look away when they're talking to you, because it means that you're not listening. Even though you're listening, but you're saying that it is irrelevant. Look at them in the eye, because what that does is that it also calms them down and it makes them feel that, okay, this person is listening to me. You not just look at them, but you also nod. When you're nodding, you're saying, I'm agreeing to the things you're saying. I am agreeing. It's not that you're saying like this, they're doing like this. But occasionally, when you say some of the things, you now do like this. And you have that air of empathy in your face. You must. So that he can also, listen to you even far more or far better than you did. It's a journey, like I said. It's not something that you can start today and you'll be perfect today. Very, very important. Remember the 3 minutes rule. Give each other time to speak uninterrupted. Anything that bothers you or you're not happy about. But then the other person that's speaking will also have one rule. And that rule is that you must learn to control your voice. Some people will tell you that this is the way my voice is. I don't know what that means. Everything we have to learn. You learn to keep a bedroom voice when you're in the house. There's an outside voice and there's an inside voice. So long as you're inside, you cannot raise your voice, except, of course, it's an emergency. If you have that understanding, then both of you will know that, oh, no, you're raising your voice. And if you're raising your voice, it means there's time out. I have to let you cool down because you're overboiling. The second is to decode the emotional language of love of the other person. It's very, very important. All of you can take these tests. The 5 love language quiz is online. You can take the test because you have to know. Some people say, "Oh yeah, my love language is service," and those. You really don't know. But if there's a quiz that you take that will give you an insight into the kind of things you actually value, which is going to dovetail into your love language, right? For instance, a wife might request, that I want you to help me every once in a week, maybe on so and so days. It's always very hectic for me, job and all, but if you can help me do this, that is service. And the wife must also do one thing, right? Even if it's in the office that you remember, you must text, "Oh, I feel so loved, but you do this and this and this to me." And then always end with what? With a prayer. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless you. May Allah increase you in all that is good. May Allah grant you Jannat Firdaus. So all these things that we do to each other, right? Let it be consistent. When my husband gives me anything, right? And it either physically or, he sends me an alert that is, she understands. She understands that kind of alert. No matter how little, no matter how much, right? Immediately I acknowledge and I say a prayer. There was a time I didn't. This guy was waiting for the prayer. And when I got home, he said, "Did you see the receipt I sent?" I said, "Yes." He couldn't say, "But you didn't pray for me." But I knew immediately that was what he was waiting for. Kia, mumu for me. And I apologized for not acknowledging on time. And I marshaled my prayer again, better than the ones before. It is very important for you, right, to understand who the other person is, understand the love. Men love to be respected, to be acknowledged for the good things. Everybody loves to be acknowledged. Well, for men, when they do good to you, they want you to acknowledge them, not in a way that is flamboyant, but in a way that, connotes that umuri, you're one that shows gratitude. Also, there's one thing that you have to do. You have to build a four-season conflict strategy, within your marriage. And you know, life is filled with its seasons, and the seasons of love are also like that. You have the very wet seasons that is so good and it flourishes everything. And these seasons, they don't last forever. We have the very dry seasons that, you know, you're on each other's neck. You have to build, you will know when the seasons are coming. You will know. And you have to note it and discuss it. Because in discussing it, it makes, you know, the season better. It's just like when we know that it's going to be very sunny, right? And you already know that this morning, this sun air, use your what? Use your sunscreen. It is only in Nigeria that we use umbrella for rain. It is meant for the sun. Take your umbrella as well, so that the sun will not deal with you, especially our new generation women that just the skincare you people do these days. In fact, it's all season skincare. You know, so I'm bringing that into the seasons of love within the marriage. We have seasons where, you know, of financial turmoil as well. We also have seasons of sickness as well. We have seasons of um, sickness, not just within, but from outside, from our loved ones, our parents, our siblings, our people that we really love. These are seasons that come, and when they come, you cannot leave each other. You have to be able to brace up. Sometimes it will be, there was a write-up I read about a woman. Our parents were so good. They were so good. And our father fell ill. Mother was the one was a caregiver, sole caregiver. And you'll have thought that, oh, this man was really very ill. And I don't think it was up to 10 years. The woman died. And the man is still there, still very sick, cannot do anything. And the woman wept and said to her husband, I have to go. If you want to divorce me, I will not blame you, but I have to go and take care of my father. I cannot leave my father. There's nobody to take care of my father. And the man said, how will I divorce you? You can go. She went for about 2.5 years or thereabout, taking care of her father until her father passed on. Out of one thing, understanding, because they do not live in the same country. Out of just one thing, and that is understanding. Sadly, when the father died, you know, she came back. I think about a year or two, her husband also died. You see, where am I going in all of this? It's just understanding that life can throw you a lot of things. How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to deal with it? And you can only deal with it together. For you to understand each other, it's just, you know, love is deep. And when people talk about love, I tell people that the reason why you get married is not really about love. It's about peace. Because within peace, you have love, you have compassion, you have empathy, you have kindness. All of these things are included in that word salam. And that is why we as Muslims must take love, you know, as one offshoot of the peace we're looking for within the marriage. Do you understand? Because marriage will throw you life will throw you a lot of things. How would your marriage stand the test of time? How would it? If you're able to understand each other, this love language you're talking about will be a breeze. Will be a breeze. If it's service, it's easy for you to serve. If it's to show love, if it's all these things will come, you know, very, very, you know, easily. Another thing that I'm going to talk about is to create a marriage mission statement. John to you alone. It does not mean that, oh, we're already 10 years now. Are you living? Are you still alive? Please do have a template. Right? Have a mission statement. Have your vision. Have your core values. These are things we see in organization. You enter one organization like this, bam. You turn another, bam. It's not a new thing. It's been there. So now I ask myself, why would people do this to an organization? Why we that are running the organization do not even have anything like that in our lives? We don't have a mission, even though our general mission as Muslims is the pleasure of Allah and to enter Jannah Firdaus. That's our general mission, to serve Allah, right? But what is those other mission that you want to couch under it? Another thing, of course, within this is to prioritize our bond over human relationships, right? We have to determine the kind of relationship we want to have with each, significant others, you know. You have your children there, you have your parents and all this. Under this, you have to be able to couch things that relate to people that are very significant to you. How will this be embedded in your mission? Because your mission is not just about the two of you alone. Try and grow closer under this mission. Find a hadith that you also couch under your mission of trying to go closer to Allah, you know, and facing trials as a team. Very, 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 very important. Furthermore, I want you to also learn to implement rituals. You know, try and do things that, how am I going to put it? I want you to try and do things that are only peculiar to both of you. Try and decide, because I cannot decide for you. Say, for instance, you can say, oh, every Friday, you know, when we get back from home, you know, after Maghrib, from Maghrib to Isha, right, we're going to sit together and make dua for ourselves, right? We hold each other's hands and make dua. We would express all the things that have been bothering us during the week. These are things that you can turn into a ritual. And it's also tied to what? To worship. Allah loves those who worship Him. Also tie some things to it. Make sure it's a ritual. Appreciation, I've said that. What are the growth areas? Meaning that we're saying growth areas now. You know the word we use, growth areas, where you can grow in. We're not saying the things that you're not doing right. Just say growth areas. And that is a means of speaking positively, even about things that are negative. And then what dreams do you have? The beginning of the year, right? I do this because of finances. I'll tell my husband the places I want to travel to, the things I want to do. And when we beg Allah that He should provide us with money, Allah has never, let us down. So try as much as possible to implement rituals that will bring about growth to you and to your children. The sixth one is to develop a trial-proof relationship, right? Like I said earlier, hardship will come in our lives. It is normal. Hardship is part of life, So say for instance you have financial stress or financial problems, always know all the du'as to make, right? Dua of Prophet Ayub is there. If you're having struggles with parenting, because as our children grow up, when you have children, they're so different, even though they come from both of you, but they're so different. And sometimes you could have challenges, even in parenting. Then you have to go back to the Quran and look at what Luqman, Luqman, and check out his advice. So you can also have health crisis, like I said earlier, but you have to know the remedies, that is in quotes, the prayer remedy. When I say prayer remedy, right, it is always nice to go to Allah first. Anything that is wrong with you, go to Allah first. Even if you're going to the hospital, go to Allah first. Make dua and beg Allah, this is what is wrong with me, you're the healer. And you take yourself to the hospital and then, keep on chanting. So when you build a family that is tied to Allah, tied to dua, right, tied to understanding each other, you realize that the speech we're talking about when it comes to understanding each other, that is speaking our hearts or understanding what my heart is saying, you realize that it becomes a breeze because you just sort of understand. And the last but not the least, which is for us to practice forever courtship, right? It is very, very important for us to bond in a way. If you look at the life of Rasulullah, it is sometimes I always wonder, how wonderful, it must have looked when he played love, with his wives. He gave gifts. He played with them, not in the corner of the house or being shy to show them. He played outside with them, played with fun and laughter, right? He gave gifts. He laughed, and You know, it gives them nicknames. Aish for Aisha, her mother Aisha. You know, so it gives them nicknames that are so beautiful that, you know, we want to think about and try and rewrite our own love story. You know, you can do things like you know, buying gifts. When I say gifts, you know, I'm not saying go and break a bank. Something's very little. But she needs it, even if it's job pin. Or, oh, my husband, oh, I think I'll buy him this Friday cap, right? Every once in a while, just bring something. I remember then when we were kids, my mother would never come back home from office without bringing something. And on days that the road is free when she's coming, because I mean all the things she buys is going to be during the in the traffic. On the days the road is free like this, she brings nothing home. We're always so sad, and she feels it as well. Always like learn to write love notes to each other. These things are superbly important. Superbly important. And why do I say they're superbly important? Because these are some of the things that, you know, make the other person want to listen to you. That's number one. Number two is that it also puts you in the forefront, makes you, how am I going to put this? It makes you, it puts you in a space of importance. You know, like somebody that can fight for you, can do anything for you. Do you understand? Because I would love to just go straight into I'd love to go straight into our hearts, you know, decoding, you know, what our hearts say, healing generational and cultural emotions. These are very, very important because, like I said earlier, we bring a lot of things into the marriage, aligning our marital rhythms, you know, and understanding each other. Now, let me break it to you. Your parents are not bad. They're the best people in the world. They brought you up the way they knew how, right? They were scared. No parents want their children to do things that are bad. So they use tough love. And for all of us, this is tough love. And this tough love, we've come to understand that this is it. But thankfully, social media has told us now that they traumatized us. I don't understand this trauma. They said they traumatized us. They said they traumatized us. But what I'm trying to pull out of this is pick what you're going to take from the relationship your parents had, or the relationship your what's this thing called? Your caregivers had. It is very, very important for you to know that in our hearts, right? You know, there are 5 things that you have to understand. And the first one is knowing that, you know, the heart has 4 chambers, you know, for a believer. You know, that is a spiritual anatomy of connection, the chamber of trust, where vows reside. You should trust each other. It is through trust that a lot of this understanding comes. Then the chamber of secrets. Still, know that whatever is your wife or your husband shows to you as a secret. When I say secret, I mean vulnerability, right? Unspoken fear that he or she is able to tell you, or things that have been done in years or yesteryears, or things that happened. They're meant to be kept in that chamber of secrets. Nothing must come out. Not even when you divorce. Never. Do you know what will happen to you? If you're able to do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to cover all your shame on the day of Yom Kippur. Because of just that's one thing. You cover that completely. We have husbands that have done shameful things and they go to their wives, see, I've done this. Please forgive me. And nobody else heard. Nobody else heard. Neither did she even speak about it. And the understanding is not just about forgive me, but of course, the man went all through to make sure that nothing like that ever happened. I mean, these are the things we're talking about. Then we also have the chamber of longing, shahwa. That is the source of passion. We must long for each other. You must not see your husband going and say, thank God, Utilo. then something is wrong. You have to fix it. You should be crying. My husband used to work in different places, Norway, everywhere. Anytime he's living like this, I feel so sad. You know, so but some men, some women, when their husbands are going, they're good, they're okay. Because Ilya sent me, that's what they'll say. So you have to, practice something that would bring about closeness to the two of you so that your hearts can incline to each other. And of course, we have the chamber of Nur and the chamber of connection, that is connection to divine, rituals of Allah. We want both of you to connect in dua. When your husband is stressed, you can soothe him with dua. We have to learn some of these things. The way I'm going to do it definitely will not be the way you're going to do it. Believe me. The way you're going to do it definitely will not be the way I'm going to do it. These are things that are different. And we have to find a way, to make sure that we understand this. We also have the veil of Hori, because also in the heart, we have 7 veils. That is the covering of the heart, things that cover your heart, and things that will not let your heart, exist the way it should exist. It would not let your heart pump the way it should pump, and these barriers, they also could be barriers to intimacy, and the first thing is the barrier of hurry. That is when we hurry, to say a salat or to implement to do or to even talk about things that are serious. Remember, we talked about something on having a 3 minutes. So if you have that, the veil of hurry, meaning that you're not even patient to listen to anyone, then these are things that both of you will have to talk about. Then we'll have the veil of past wounds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala erase all our past wounds. And these things need to be spoken out because it's a veil and it's covering. And the moment you're able to speak it out, what it does is that it removes the veil gradually. I always tell people that nothing happens instantaneously, just like night and day. It is not like, oh, it's night, 1 second and the other second is just day. It is a gradual thing, and in that transition, you also have to know that, you have to hold on to each other and, always do consistent dua. Then, we have the veil of assumptions, and this is horrible, and that is the veil that also kills the love and the hearts speaking to each other. The assumptions will lead into suspicion, saying things and assuming. And this is one of the things Rasulullah said we should run away from. And even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, we should run away from it. We also have the veil of devices, that is, wasting time, and we do that a lot now on our tablets, on our phones. These things, they kill love. Nobody is going to, the heart cannot connect. You're put a barrier. See, if you forget your phone at home, right? You miss a bus to go and get the phone. The phone is even more important than our spouses now. See our lives. Why? Social media. This is the bane of our lives now. And it is creating a veil. So when we're saying that we're not listening, this guy is not listening to my heart, right? There's a veil already covering it. Some of the things you're saying or making yourself exposed to in the social media is creating a veil over your heart. A veil of you to question some things. A veil of you to question a lot of things that ordinarily you will not question. So we have also a veil of unmet needs, right? It could be intimacy. It could be food, it could be the little things in life. But these are unmet needs, and you really have to sit down and decide, what unmet needs that both of you can work on. Some of them you cannot work on them. You can't. You can only pray that Allah removes it. We also have the veil of comparison. Hey, this also does what? It closes your heart. It closes it. I can give you a lot of ways that you people can connect. But if you do not, first of all, remove those weeds that is stopping connection, nothing can happen. It is just like putting money on your data, and data is not working. So the money you have put is just there. It will be useless until you're able to resolve the data, to ignite and start again. So we also have the veil of shame, and this veil of shame, right? It's a wonderful veil, and it's the veil of remorse, a veil that makes us know that these things I'm doing is bad. I remember all the veils we're talking about. All these veils, they affect connection. They do. And we feel it each day. And this veil of shame, the remedy is usually istighfar. Please hug istighfar. Caress istighfar. Say it and munch it as if you're munching guguru. You know guguru? We munch it as if you're munching guguru every day. Always ask for forgiveness from Allah. Always. And let it be heartfelt. Don't let it be the one that just, your mouth is just moving. It's very, very important that we take all of these things into consideration when we're thinking of having a heart that speaks with each other. And the ultimate test, after all, is that all these things that we're feeling are part of the test that we've come to this life to face. This is part of the reasons why we're here, to face this and to be able to surmount some of these challenges. Some of us will not be able to. Some of us will even fall deep into it. The only prayer, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He counts us among those who will truly, truly be saved from the evil suggestion of Shaitan, whose hearts would incline towards each other as couples, and who will love each other truly for the sake of Allah. And remember that as Muslims, the most important thing, right, Rasulullah told us, and that is in Hadith 1, that all your actions by Allah will be judged according to your intentions. So everything you do within your marriage, every good does not go unnoticed. Allah will did you, right? But everything starts from what you intend in your heart. So always intend good, and good will always be the result of everything you put your hands to. And that's one of Allah save our marriages from destruction. May Allah save us from the evil suggestion of Shaitan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from all the vices that breaks marriage. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also make all of you benefit from this, as I hope that I too will benefit from it. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Amen. Wassalamu ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan, ma. Thank you so much for that very educative, informative, and enlightening session. Wow, and it was a very rich session. Thank you so much, ma. I have a very full note here. I have about 3 pages of notes. I'm not married, but this was like a pre-marital counseling session for me. So thank you so much, ma. So to our audience, to the participants, I hope that you have your questions ready for our speaker. And if you do, please feel free, go ahead and type it in the chat box. And yeah, I'll be reading it for our speaker so she can give us her answers. So first off, I would like to begin with my own question. Hello, ma.
I'm here with you. I'm here with you.
See her.
I'm here with you.
Okay, ma. All right, ma. So I wanted to ask a question because you bordered on so many things. You talked on a lot of things, and the most the most important thing for me that you talked about, which was what you started the session with, was our baggages, quote unquote, and then how our parents and our environment are models for us. So I've heard a lot of would I say, scenarios or experiences about people's marriages, good and bad. And then sometimes I hear things like, oh, they don't, okay, let me paint it properly. So let's say there's a couple, there's a husband and there's a wife. So the husband is always usually the flimsy things to me. So the husband maybe complains about the wife's cooking. Okay, this is not how I was brought up eating this particular food. And then the wife is like, "Okay, it's still the same food, it's just a different method of making this food." My question now is that how do we get people that are so stuck on this is how I was brought up doing certain things, this is how my parents do it, this is how they do it in my, like, where I come from and all of that. How do we get them to see that, okay, first of all, they are wrong, in the way that they want to force everybody to see life the way they see it? And then how do I even say this? How do you just make them see that life is more than that? Because it's usually can be quite annoying, especially when it comes from very matured people, and especially when it's flimsy things like cooking and all of that.
Wa alaikum salam.
Was I clear enough, ma?
Completely, you were clear.
Yes.
Okay, so there's nothing flimsy in marriages, sadly, because I mean, the flimsy thing, just like you said, in quotes, I'll put the quotes on flimsy, are the things that actually destroys marriages. And it's also based on poor understanding. Now, to say the guy is wrong, is the first thing that will lead to destruction, because you have to say he's right. The first thing is used to a certain way of doing things. The lady is also used to a certain way of doing things, which is fine, right?
Yes.
I'm always of the opinion that we take the middle course. If you don't like the way I do it, right, bring me somebody that will teach you the way they do it, and I'll start doing it like that. Always look for solution instead of thinking things are flimsy. You really, and another thing that happens is that when you think the other person's opinion is very flimsy, it causes a lot of fracas. You must take, because if it's serious about it, you also have to be serious about it. You can say, I'm really worried that you don't like this thing. I think maybe if your sister can teach me, Sha, I'll be very happy. You really have to make serious what he thinks is serious. Because the way he thinks about it is different from the way you are thinking about it. Yes, and you have to be very careful not to start a fire that you cannot put out. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, ma. But I just also would like to ask again, based on the answer that you've given. So does
Right.
that now mean that I'm going to compromise on how I see things just to maybe satisfy his own perspective?
I love what you just said, compromise. This is what life is all about. We can't have everything we want. And there should be a line, right? Because there's some things that are sacrosanct to you that you also not compromise. Are you there? You're frozen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Hello?
Oh, I can hear you, ma.
Okay. Okay, so there's
Hello?
some, yes, I can hear you now. So the thing is, you have to understand one thing, that in marriage, even in all relationship, friendship, anything, you have to have something called compromise. You have to give up some things so that you two can also have some things. If you're able to give up some things, right, you'll be shocked at the things you two will be able to receive at the end of the day. But not willing to give up, right, means that you two are being rigid. And at the end of the day, you end up with nothing. Remember, I said something about prenup. A lot of the time, women don't think through, because when you want to marry someone, yes, when you want to marry a man, or a man wants to marry a woman, there's so many things you have observed. And some of your observations should be something you write down. Hello?
Hello, I can hear you, ma.
Okay. Okay, some of your observations you should write down. And as a Muslim as
Yes.
well, you should find out about every member of that family, because their ways could actually be his own way as well. And then from that, come with things that you want to discuss in terms of, please, these are the things I would like us to discuss. And then, of course, I'm hoping that he's also doing the same thing with you, because then this sort of clarifies some issues. It does not completely remove it, but it does clarify. However, some of us are in this marriage already, and I mean, we can't throw it away. It's like throwing the baby with the bathwater. You decide exactly where you stand.
Yeah.
There's some things you will change. There's some things he will not change. Remember, he's the leader of the pack, so he has, upper hand. Whether or not you like it, he has the upper hand. So there's some things that you really have to be very wise on how you discuss. That's number one. Number two is some of the things you will not take, don't take initially. Don't start. Don't start. So that's it will not be a problem of, oh, but then you have done it before now. Do you understand? So that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ma. I
Mm.
think I'm clear on that now.
Right.
So we have a few questions in the chat box. I'll start with the first one. What time is best to start a marriage counseling session? Is it before finding the potential spouse or after?
Well, it definitely is after, because I mean, there's nothing you're looking for, with the marriage counselor, except of course, and you can if you want to, but it's just going to be about you, the things you want in a husband and the things you probably should look out for, But then all these things are not cast in stones, and that is why we always prefer that if you have someone and you're sure that this is the person you want to marry, they will just say come along. But then have in mind that coming along 6 months before does not mean you're going to marry each other. There's some things you're going to see that, it would be advisable for you people not to just marry. It would be advisable. Do you understand? I've counseled some people, and in my mind,
Okay.
I'm
I
telling
hope
them,
whoever asked the question.
yes, I'm in my mind, I'm saying these people shouldn't get married. They did, and they got divorced. This happens because you see it, that these people are not going to, be able to stand the test of time. Yeah. 6 months is a good time.
Okay, 6 months. Oh wow, 6 months. But some people don't even, I've heard of situations where some people don't even cut up to that amount of time.
And then so when you start cutting and you're sure, I'm saying 6 months now, thinking that okay, fine. A regular person will say, okay, fine. A regular Yoruba will cut for okay, so and your parents will say, me, it's what she married and say mani suru. So I'm thinking that. You understand? But of course,
Okay.
now we see that a lot of the new couples, the new age, right? They don't even mind not
Yes.
having a big wedding. It's just the acto de car. And for that, the moment you're
Yes.
sure this is the person, then you people should just ignite it and get it done.
Okay. Okay. Also, in the answer that you gave, you said you had a couple that eventually got divorced, even though in your mind you kind of saw the cracks there.
Yeah.
So can you tell them, can you, warn them ahead, or can you maybe advise them against that union before it happens?
When is 1 week to their marriage? What advice do you want me to give? They are both closed. They have rented kidney. So, at that point in time, there's really very little. You can only do fire brigade, because at that point in time, a lot of people come to me just a week to their wedding, 2 weeks to their wedding, a month to their wedding. The hall has been booked, clothes have been bought, invitations out. Hey, so you're already, you're just coming here just to dot the I's and cross the C's. So you're not here to get any advice. You're just here to say, okay, fine, counseling, but it's better for you to come early.
Counseling.
It's better to come early so that yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, ma'am. So next question says, Assalamu alaikum. What is the best way for couples who have decided to go their ways to handle separation and divorce? Most times it ends up in a bitter way. Both parties or one of the parties is bitter.
Well, it still goes back to the thing that they have a lot of unresolved issues. And I don't like people separating in bitterness. Even in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that if you're going to divorce your wife, separate, in goodness always. Because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You might still need each other for one or two things. So you're not going to be sworn enemies. Imagine being sworn lovers to sworn enemies. It's a sharp difference. So what I always prefer is that when people want to divorce and the animosity is great, and that they have both decided that, see, this thing is going, right? Then they should come and resolve some issues. Perhaps sometimes they do come together, but most often times, if they don't come together, at least all issues, that leads to animosity will have been resolved, and they can see each other on the road and say, Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, all right, okay, ma'am. Alhamdulillah for the wisdom in the Quran. At least we know that even in divorce, we
Yes,
can still be cordial.
yes.
Thank you. And the last question, I believe, says, how can one constantly make the marriage work? Is it by buying gifts, throwing money at the partner, or through communication? The spark is always off after the first 2 years.
Which spark?
Mm.
It's back. Okay, so the thing is, let me tell you one thing about marriage. When you go into marriage looking for spark, right? And you know that even with all sparks normally do not last. Am I wrong? If you see a spark, it's always brief.
No,
Yes, it's always brief.
yes.
So it is not the spark you're after. You're going for the long haul, right? Meaning that slow
Mm.
burn. Slow burn, meaning that we want this thing to burn slowly for the long haul, right? A lot of people go for, oh, that quick adrenaline rush. No, this is not what marriage is. Marriage is supposed to build friendship. It's supposed to build good intimacy. At a point in time, intimacy is not the real thing that you're looking for. It is just the fact that you want to give each other true joy. Do you understand? You want to be friends with each other, and you want to shield each other from whatever, harm that may be out there. If you say between 1 and 2 years, then I would have to ask you, what were you really thinking marriage was all about? Is it about the spark? And then when people say spark now, I know what spark is. I know. They're leading it straight into intimacy, right? And if you're leading it straight to intimacy, a lot of things remove the spark. You cannot expect, trying, okay, fine, let me just give you food, for instance. You just tried a certain food and you're eating it and eating it. You'll get to a point of what? Saturation.
Yes.
And how intimacy is. But it does not mean you don't like the food again, no. It's just that you're saturated. Do you understand? So
Yes.
intimacy in marriage is almost like that. Some people, they don't care. They do it. They keep on doing it. And some people, they just want somebody else. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given men the leeway, if they're highly sexed. When I say highly sexed, that will lead them into having extramarital affairs, to have more than one wife. But then it also happens to women too. Some women feel that, oh, that my spark is gone, or my husband is this, my husband is that. There are ways to remedy a lot of these things. There's sex therapists. If you're talking about spark, if I think what you're thinking is what you mean, then there's sex therapists. Because some of these things, like I said, remember that I talked about the things that veil the heart. Some of the things that veil the heart will build some of the spark.
Yes.
Sparks should happen in successions, but they should not be too far in between so that it is sustained. So you can say, okay, fine, I'm in the spark, and then it pumps up again. And this is the way life is. Life is not one road like this. It goes this way, it goes this way. I mean, it could be crazy from one person to the other. So don't think of the spark alone. Think of what you can give. And you talked about, oh, should we just lavish them with this? I don't know what your love language is. For some people, it's service. For some people, it's kind words. For some people, it's gifts. And like I told you, it's not all about giving them the most expensive things. If your wife is high maintenance, I'm sorry, women are high maintenance. Am I wrong? Women are high maintenance.
No, ma'am.
No, we like what we like, right? But choose your kilongbe. Choose your size. Don't choose the one that will come and give you heart attack. You understand? But the main thing now is for you to know that, in life, it is not a straight road. Your ways are not just going to be like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I'll test you with this, I'll test you with that, I'll test you with a lot of things. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, it means that your marriage is a replica of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. It will test you with a lot of things. It will test you with this low spark to see how you're going to react. Will you keep on holding to Allah? Will you keep on being good to her? Will she keep on being good to you? These are tests for all these things you're saying. We're here for just one thing. And that is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to test us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in Surah Mulk, that you think we have created you. No, we have created a man and jinn. Please, somebody should remind me. But in Surah Al-Mulk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Yes, we created man and him to worship.
no,
It's
no,
Surah Al-Jinn.
yes, but he also said that he created us so that he can test which amongst you are good in deeds. Do you understand? And this,
Okay,
yes,
that's
the whole of his life is just about tests. Your marriage is a test, your spouse is a test, your children are tests, your work is everything, your car that is inanimate is a test. So
yes.
come down to your marriage. You know that every time you feel like this, just do this and pray to Allah. Just pray. You see, prayer is the antidote to everything. We just do not believe it. Because what we're looking for is an instant miracle. And it does not work that way. If at the time your parents conceived you, on that date or conceived going was the day you came out from her womb, I'll say that everything will be instant. So long as that did not happen and your mother had to wait 9 whole months or sometimes 1 year, then know that everything in life has stages. Everything is staged. Everything. Your life is staged from childhood to this time, to that time, to old age. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said everything is in stages. Everything. So look at your marriage as a season. And I mentioned this, that in your marriage, you have different seasons. And those seasons bond together. No matter how hard it is, bond. If what you're looking for is spark, you get the sparkle, but you have to be patient. Sorry, I have to stop the advance. Sorry.
Okay, please. All right, let's just give her a minute or two. If we have any more questions, please let's put it down in the chat box.
All right. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
she's back.
So yeah, just like I said, our lives are filled with challenges, and these challenges, we cannot run away from them. Maybe this is your challenge. Maybe Allah is trying to test you whether you're going to fall into adultery. I don't know. So you have to continue to hold on and ask Allah, please, don't test me with things that I'll not be able to pass. So for all of us, let us know that our marriages are tests to us, and how we manage it, we're still going to give the stewardship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma. Jazakumullahu khairan, ma. Yes, we do not have any questions right now, and it's already almost 1 o'clock. So Jazakumullahu khairan, ma. We really are honored to have learned from you, and I personally enjoyed it, and I have so many takeaways listening attentively. I know attentive listening. In fact, I teach attentive listening. But I never knew about the 3-minute rule. And I think it makes a lot of sense. The 3-minute rule is very important. Like when you're in a conversation with somebody, for 3 minutes, make sure that you are listening to what the person is saying instead of, preparing a response or a retort. So I hope we all have learned so many things, because I personally, as I said, I have 3 pages full of notes. Yes. In the absence of any questions, we would love if you can give us a closing prayer so that we can end the webinar.
My prayer is going to be simple. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. آمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون السلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Thank you.
Jazakumullahu khairan, ma. Thank you so much, ma. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope that you join us next time, either physically or virtually, as the case may be. Do have a nice day. Assalamu alaikum.